What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them.
The headline promised protection. The reality is destruction. In the span of a single week, America's auto industry, long hailed as the beating heart of industrial strength, has begun to unravel. Factories are halting exports. Foreign markets are slamming their doors shut. Dealerships are bracing for inventory chaos. And legacy brands are now questioning whether they can survive in the very country they helped build. This collapse wasn't triggered by war, recession, or a lack of demand. It was triggered by tariffs, and the fallout is unfolding in real time. Before we continue, hit that like button to help us beat the YouTube algorithm and show your support. Let's start with Ford. Just hours ago, Ford Motor Company confirmed it has suspended all shipments of US-made vehicles to China. That includes some of its most iconic models, from the F-150 Raptor to the Mustang, and several key SUVs. Why? Because China has retaliated against the latest round of US tariffs, with new tariffs of its own, up to 150% on American-built vehicles. That means a car that sells for $40,000 in the US now costs over $100,000 in China. No consumer is going to pay that, so Ford pulled the plug. For now, they're still exporting engines and parts to their Chinese facilities, but finished vehicles? Gone. Parked, paused. Because the world's second-largest economy just told America's oldest automaker, "You are no longer welcome here." And Ford isn't the only one panicking. Let's talk about Buick. Buick was in the middle of a comeback after years of stagnation. Its small SUV lineup was finally catching fire. Sales were up nearly 40% in the first quarter, but there's a catch. Every single one of Buick's breakout models is built overseas. The Encore GX and Envista, made in South Korea. The Envision, built in China. And now all three face a brutal combination of US import tariffs. South Korean-made vehicles are being hit with a 27.12% tariff. The Chinese-built Envision, nearly 50% in tariffs and fees. That means sticker prices are about to skyrocket. Dealers across the country are bracing for inventory slowdowns. And customers, the very ones Buick finally won back, may be priced out entirely. One auto analyst put it bluntly, this could destroy Buick's momentum. If these tariffs hold, the brand might not survive. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, Japan is scrambling. Its economy relies heavily on auto exports, especially to the United States. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Subaru. They ship millions of vehicles annually. But now, those cars face a 25% tariff at the US border. The result? Some Japanese automakers have already begun scaling back US-bound shipments. Others are quietly raising prices. And behind closed doors, Japan is preparing a trade offer, one that could reshape the future of global automotive policy. According to reports released this morning, Japanese officials have offered to increase purchases of US agricultural products like soybeans and rice in exchange for relief from the auto tariffs. Yes, Japan is offering food to save cars. And so far, Washington hasn't said no. President Donald Trump reportedly met with Japan's lead trade negotiator in the Oval Office this week. Officials say progress was made. But until the tariffs are lifted, Japan's biggest industry remains on edge. And the message from Tokyo is clear. Give us a deal, or brace for economic consequences. All of this, the Ford freeze, the Buick crisis, the Japan panic, traces back to a single strategy: economic nationalism. A strategy where tariffs aren't just a negotiating tool, they are the plan. And now, that plan is backfiring. Because the more America isolates itself, the more the world retaliates. China's tariffs on US vehicles have already destroyed one of the largest overseas markets for American automakers. Sales are plummeting. Export routes are collapsing. Even US-based assembly lines are starting to feel the squeeze, and it gets worse. Internal documents from Ford suggest that if the tariffs continue through the next quarter, price increases on select models will be unavoidable. That means higher costs for buyers, fewer incentives, more financing stress, and lower sales volume across the board. Here's the quiet part. No one is saying out loud, this won't just affect foreign-made cars. Even American-built vehicles rely heavily on imported parts, engines, wiring, electronics, sensors. Many of those come from places like Japan, Mexico, and China. And those parts? They're all now subject to new tariffs. So even if your car is made in America, the pieces that built it are under financial assault. That cost is going to land somewhere, and it's going to land hard. In the boardrooms, executives are worried. In the dealerships, sales teams are nervous. In the factories, union workers are quietly asking, will shifts be cut? The fear isn't hypothetical, it's palpable, because this isn't just about trade policy, it's about survival. And the irony? The very policy meant to bring jobs back to the United States could be the one that makes them vanish. Already, suppliers are warning of slowed orders, steel and aluminum prices are swinging, transport costs are rising, and international partners are signaling that if tariffs aren't rolled back, they'll retaliate further. In Brussels, the European Union is preparing a new round of counter-tariffs. In Seoul, South Korean automakers are re-evaluating their investments in U.S. factories. And in Beijing, the message is simple. You escalated, so will we. This is how trade wars become global. This is how industries collapse from the inside out. And the real danger? It's not the politics. It's the timeline. Because if these tariffs remain in place for another quarter, or worse, become permanent, the restructuring will begin. Foreign automakers will pull out. Suppliers will close. Assembly lines will be consolidated. And jobs, high-paying, skilled, blue-collar jobs, will disappear. Quietly, permanently, all while consumers are left paying more for less. And don't think electric vehicles will save us. EVs rely even more on imported parts, especially batteries. And if China retaliates by tightening exports of battery-grade lithium, cobalt, or rare earth elements, that's checkmate. The EV boom could slow to a crawl, and America's push for green infrastructure could be halted before it even starts. This is not theoretical. This is what happens when global supply chains are weaponized. And it's happening now. So what comes next? That depends entirely on Washington. Will they strike a deal with Japan? Will they lift tariffs on South Korean and Chinese vehicles? Will they negotiate a broader trade alliance with Europe to stabilize the market? Or will they double down and let the American auto industry absorb the impact? Because make no mistake, the shockwaves have already begun. And if nothing changes, the damage will spread to dealerships, to manufacturing plants, to transport fleets, and to every single driver looking to buy a car this year. The cost of protectionism is starting to show. And the question now is not whether tariffs will shake the system, it's whether they will break it.